2, 3, 4.
Shoo up, my sugar, shoo up, my little butterbean.
Down, diddy, down, 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 diddy, diddy, down, diddy, down, down, do I do it, down, diddy, down, down, you're so pretty, pretty, down, diddy, down, down. Ain't it funny how fun love can be? Diddy, 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 down, diddy, down, 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 diddy, diddy, down, diddy, down, down.
And the Norfolk Knitting School is back in session. Thank you so much for coming. It's the Monday of Thanksgiving week. So if you're, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And I've got a bunch of things to do today. I wanted to talk about some things first regarding your hands. Now that it's gotten cold, if you are knitting a lot, and I don't think it really matters whether it's acrylic or cotton or wool, but probably wool is the worst, your cuticles will dry out and they will crack. In my case, I don't know, the nail polish doesn't help, but I don't think that's the whole story because before I wore it, I had the same problem. And in the winter, it was not unusual for me to be going around with Band-Aids on 2 or 3 fingers. So I wanted to tell you what I recommend that you do for that. These gloves are cotton with some stretch in them. And I think I got these at the CVS, but you might have to go online and you might want to try Googling cotton moisturizing gloves. There are other gloves that they make that are not cotton that really do a good job. They're probably going to be more money. And these are just so easy to wash, although I admit that they look very dingy, but I wash them by hand all the time. And what I do is I put on a cuticle treatment. I don't like the oils. The oil is going to soak right into these gloves. I like something that's kind of stiff that has shea butter in it. One thing that I use that you can get in Foxborough at the Ulta is called Cutica. It's Q-T-I-C-A. And it's a little jar, not cheap, but believe me, you will. It is money that's well worth. It's well worth the money because these cuticle cracks can be very, very painful. And so I wear these at night, and I feel like it helps. Now the other thing I really should mention to you is you need to be mindful of your wrists when you're knitting. Now some people might not, this might not happen to you ever at all. That repetitive motion can kick up your carpal tunnel. There's a bundle of nerves in here, and when they get inflamed, it squeezes, and you have a lot of numbness in you. I've had this hand done. I'm thinking about having this one done, but I mean, like I say, I've been knitting for a long, long time, more than 50 years. So if you want to ward off against that, you can get these little splints. The Walgreens here in Norfolk has a very good selection. I use a big sort of heavy duty one because I already have some problem with my wrist, but they have smaller ones and they just fit around here and they just hold. There's usually some metal in there and they hold your wrist straight. And you may say, why do I need that if I'm asleep? Well, you do move around, and this just holds the wrist in place. So I did one. I'm not saying this to discourage anybody or scare you, but particularly with the cuticles, you'll really be, you'll be in a world of hurt if your cuticles, start to crack and really bother you. Now, I wanted to talk about the Christmas gifts. Yes, I know people give gifts for Hanukkah, so Christmas and Hanukkah gifts, and when Ramadan rolls around, you'll be all set as well. Now, but I want to do something first. I had made this little hat a while back to show the baubles, and I showed you the baubles here that we were making and shaping the hat and so forth. And see. And actually, I just did this in the spur of the moment. It really should have a deeper rib on it to fold up, but I was a little, I didn't want to spend too much time. It takes me quite a while to prepare for the show. And of course, here you see the creases here at the top that kind of go around like a pinwheel. So what I wanted to finish showing you was the closure on this. And the last time I was doing this, I wasn't at a table, and I feel like I didn't show it very well. So if my cameraman can come in closely, I want them just as this good, is to see that you go back and forth, and you go right in to this little space right here. Now, also, I wanted to mention in a previous show, you see, we're working with a mirror, so you can look right down on this and see. And in the previous show, it looked like everything was backwards because of the mirror. So my dear Katie is going to flip everything this time. She did flip the book, because of course the writing was backwards too. But it must have looked like I was knitting with my, with my left hand. And this is a little thing I bought recently. These are like little things to close, with, to kind of hold your. But this is such a short distance here. I'll be able to go right along here, and let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go in the little V. Sorry, in there. And then you snug it up, and then in here. Now usually what you do is you start from the bottom, because if there's a little bit of a discrepancy here at the top, a little bit of a bunching, you're really not, people are not going to see that. And by the way, I mean, if you did ever have to have your carpal tunnel fixed, it is a very, very small deal. I mean, I was kind of worried about it, but and you do have your occupational therapy afterwards. And I mean, but I went to I'm going to put in a plug for Dr. Philip Blazer at the Brigham. I mean, he did, it was just a wonderful job. I didn't really suffer much with it at all. A bit of a hassle since it was my right hand, but so I think you can see I did a better job up here than I did down here. And this was where I was, because I guess I was I don't know what was happening. I was in a chair or something, and I was working on my lap. So you see, you can make it really look very good. You do see there's a seam there, and I've managed to match these. So I did want to finish with that. I didn't finish with that before. Oh, one other thing I wanted, if I might, I probably need a wide shot here. I'm wearing a sweater I made, and I'm always telling you that there are easy, you don't need to have a complicated pattern to make something that looks nice. This is, what I did here was, I had gotten this wool Aran yarn, which is what they typically use for the Irish sweaters, called Aran, A-R-A-N. And I got this at an auction. I had it for the longest time. And I had all this scrap yarn. All these stripes, this is worked this way across. Usually you work up to down. This is worked across. And then to make the stripes, I made sure when I knit these, one row going across, that the reverse stockinette side would show. So that has made the stripes. I don't know if you can, I don't know if we can get it any closer. And so the thing that I really liked about this was, I can wear literally any color with it. And on the top, what I did was I worked this way. I made two panels. There's a panel in the front, the panel in the back. Instead of doing a neckline, I just used the straight panel. And because this is stockinette working this way, I just let it roll down. Over here, I didn't do any ribbing. I just picked this up. I picked this up. I let this roll in because it's stockinette. Oh, now here's a good picture. Okay, so that's my little. Sorry. And I don't know, this way, I mean, I can wear any color at all with this. This yarn, this yarn is back from when everybody was using that eyelash yarn. It was just awful. It was in the 80s and people were making scarves. Here's some more of it here. I must have used it for trim. And so that's what I did. And now, the other thing for full disclosure, and you know what I'll do? Another time I'll bring this when it's not on me. When I made it, it was too small around the hips. So what I was able to do, because I've got the reverse stockinette showing here and here, I put in a panel on the side with the reverse stockinette out to pick up this stitch here. So, I mean, this is really something I just love. This is very comfortable to wear, and as I said, the really great thing is that, you know, I can wear it with, you know, any color at all, and a shirt or, you know, a turtleneck. So I did, you know, I don't always bring all my sweaters in here, but I did want to bring this one in today and show you. Alrighty, so now let us go to the gift giving that you're going to do. Now, this is an inexpensive sweater from Kohl's that I own. They make these every year, and what I have done is I have made an I-cord, and I've shown you that a few times. And actually, as a matter of fact, I'm making something else for you that I'm going to show you later in the show. These are I-cords right here, and I'm working two on a needle, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that. Because last time I was showing you an I-cord was done red and white, and I was saying, you know, you could put this, you know, use this as a candy cane decoration. But then I thought about it, and it really didn't quite cut it. So, what my idea here is, now obviously this is not long enough, it should go all the way to the back, but you would pin this on, and I don't know, I'm sorry, I think this looks kind of nice as an embellishment on this sweater. And then of course you would also put it on, you know, you would just as easily put it on the cuff. And I think people would just go crazy to see something like that, you know, that's you know, it's you don't have to worry about making the sweater, but you personalize something in a really neat way. Now, I want to show you this stuff here, and this is not, well, it's not cheap. I don't know if I have the nerve to try to thread it. I don't even know if you can see this very well. This is invisible, this is transparent thread. Now, if you get into a situation where you can't find the exact color of something, because of course what you're going to do is thread a needle with this and stitch it from inside. So where it's transparent, I don't know, I suppose I could try to thread it, but sometimes it takes, I need to get my little scissor. Sometimes it takes a long time, and I don't, you know, want to spend a lot of time fussing over for threading a needle, but let's just see. Let's see how I do. I don't know why they don't make this stuff a little thicker. And of course, obviously, the easiest thing to do would be to get the matching thread. But, you know, when I've used this before, it's been when I've worked with fabric that was printed. And it was pretty evenly, the colors are pretty evenly distributed. So, you know, if I picked one color, it was going to show against another color. So, let me just take a minute here and see if I can thread this needle. And of course, you're seeing how tricky this is. You're probably not going to want to do this anyway. Oh, come on, here we go. Over here. All right. Alrighty. Ha-ha. Hey. There we go. Oh, I did it. I don't know. God protects fools and children, I guess. And then you would want to double it. The other thing that's tricky with this is getting it to knot at the end. And I kind of moisten my fingers because it holds a little bit better. And let me try and see if I can get this to knot. So it would just be an over, you know, sort of over the tip of your finger to make a slip knot. I may not be so lucky with this. Let's see. Because it's not just that it's invisible, but it's very slippery. I got that one thread done. Let me see if I can do another one. Now, when you're working with really thin yarn thread like this, you want to put it, let's see, did that knot? Well, it did. Let me try one more time here and see if I can get this to finish knotting here. Well, I'm probably not going to get any better than that, but let me show you, you know, while we can, you know. And when you're working with really fine thread, what you want to do, now in this case I'm going to come under here and I'm going to look here at this little edge here. I'm going to put my needle right through there. And now this is actually an embroidery needle. This is not a regular needle. So I'm going to put it right through there. And well, see now the knot is not large enough. So I'll try this. When the knot on your thread isn't big enough, you go like this and you take a back stitch and you kind of create a knot. The other thing to do is to try to go right through a strand of yarn and see if it will catch that way. Now, this is not, I need a bigger knot on this, but, you know, again, I mean, maybe what you'll want to do is just try to get the matching thread. But if I had a little more time to fiddle around here, I could probably get a better knot on there. I could, you know. So anyway, I did want to show you this. Now, you remember, let me put this aside. Put this right here. And you remember last time I had made this rose. I don't know how it got full of. I had made this little pin, and I had showed you that I made the leaf again. Here we are again with the I cord for the stem. I made a second leaf, and actually, this is another. Here's a leaf all by itself that I had made, and I did sew everything on with the yarn. I think I might have done better to have used regular sewing thread because it would make it less bulky back here. And I think if you recall, I put it on. I'll put it on here, on this one. Although this is kind of big. This is a little bit big for a sweater. This is something, I mean, some people like really big accessories. But you know, this is good for a hat or a. I probably should turn this way, a hat or a coat, ideally. So I'm going to go back. Last time I was here, I was working on that, and Katie put up the directions, and I'm going to show you how to finish this, and I'm going to show you another. Pin to make. And this is going to be a little Christmas tree, just a very simple triangle with a little contrasting color of trunk, and show you, if we have enough time, show you how to make a French knot to create Christmas tree balls on your Christmas tree. So, but first I'm going to go back to this, and now I'm using Nikki Epstein's book, and I went on the online catalog at the Norfolk Library, and there was I didn't realize how many of these books she had. I mean, she must be just an absolute genius to be able to. I mean, I'm sure there's some overlap between, you know, different, you know, some of the same things are in different books, but you know, and so if you go on the Norfolk or your library's online catalog, or just go in there and you can look for Nikki Epstein's Knitting Embellishments. There's one other one here while we're looking at books for a second. I just bought this over at A.C. Moore, And I'm going to be using something from this book myself. I had made a, now see, here are the flowers here. And actually this flower is in Nikki Epstein's book. And this star over here. But what's really good about this, they have technical data, and they organize it like this for you. They tell you what kind of wool to use. And what's great about this is these are made separately and attached. Now I made a shawl. I was working on a shawl, and actually I wanted to also tell you about this. I was working on a shawl, and I had bought Red Heart yarn at A.C. Moore. Now I told you not to buy cheap yarn, but I liked the colors. It was this sort of turquoise and purple, and it was an acrylic, and I was one thing I could put in the machine and wash, because the one that I had before that I was wearing, which I believe is you see on the opening credits, it's a multicolored. I didn't realize how much wool was in it, and I washed it in the machine, and it's the story of what not to do with what you wear. So that's pretty much looks terrible. It's all felted up and matted. I mean, I can wear it in the house when it's cold. So I made another one, and I'll bring that in and show you. And I didn't actually do the decreases the way I should have. So I said, oh gee, I'm going to put a little trim around the edge, and I wanted to put the trim around the long end of the shawl anyway. Well, luckily at the end of the project, I look into this skein, and the dye wasn't done properly. It was a defective skein. Some of it was very light. It didn't take the dye. So now I'm waiting for Coates & Clark, which is the mother company of Red Heart, to send me another skein. Fortunately, I was in the middle of the shawl. I mean, it would have been just, So I just advise you, if you do want to take that chance, do go and look through, especially if it's a variegated skein with different colors running. Go through, kind of open it up and look in there, because the other 3 skeins were fine, the last one wasn't. So, beware of that. All right, so now I'm going to, let me continue this now. Okay, so on this one, all right, now I've done my nine rows here. I'm going to bind this off. Needles are kind of hitting on the table. So all you do is you knit. These things are so long. You knit, and pass the other one over, and that's your bind off. There are other bind offs you can do, but this is the easiest one. There's one that you can do with 3 needles. I don't do that one. I suppose I could. I suppose I could learn, but so now if you don't mind, I'm going to back off out of the picture here so I can get this done for you, because I need this space for my these long knitting needles. And I don't have short ones because, oh, there we go. I don't have short ones because I mostly make sweaters, and as of course I've told you, I like to use the circular needles, which is what I really should have brought in here for this. So I'm just going to finish this. By the way, if you would like to get in touch with me, everybody else has this email. You may as well have it too. My email is ambattistone@comcast.net. I was trying to get another one set up. I had trouble with it. So if you'd like, if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, or what I would really love, really love, if one of you was interested in coming on the show, for a few minutes, and show what you've made, or, just, if you don't want to be on camera, just let me show your work. I would really like that. If you work and you can't make it during the day, we could probably do a shoot at night. Okay. There's a group on once a month on Sundays. I don't know whether it's the first Sunday. You can go on the Norfolk website, and they have a calendar. Well, actually, they have a calendar for the town on the website. The library may have its own calendar, or you can call them up. I'm not sure which Sunday in the month it is, but there's a group that goes over there and does spinning. And I'm hoping to get over there for one of their meetings and tape a few minutes and watch them spin. I assume they also knit. But the spinning is really kind of fascinating because they're turning, they're turning fleece, into this. I find it amazing that, a strand turns into fabric. So they're one step ahead of that. They're carding and spinning fleece from sheep. Alrighty. Okay, here we go. All right, now. All right, so now I cut this. And I'm going to leave sometimes I don't leave long enough strands, and then I'm running trouble. All right. Now, what you do here is you sort of roll this around. And when I made this one, it took me this one over here. Where is it to go? Oh, it's okay. When I made this other one, it took me a little while to kind of get this right. Kind of roll this around like this, and well, let me sew it first. Let me do that before I start to fiddle with the leaves, the petals. I just want to remind you that you can watch all of these shows on YouTube. I think you just go to, when you go to YouTube, one way to do it is just to go to Norfolk Knitting School. And they're all numbered, so you can, all right, so I'm going to go through and stitch this up. I'm going to make sure this is all tied together here. And as I said last time, I don't know how this yarn got so dingy. I don't know, it must be my fault. I must have somehow picked this up and worked on it when my hands weren't pristine. And I'm going to also tack this little loose edge here. And of course, this is not going to be visible. Now, well, let me at least, okay, so I'm going to just make a knot like that. I'm just going to leave this here for the moment. And what is supposed to happen is, well, this will have to be drawn in it, but there's your little, and I'm going to take this end and bring it down. You remember how to thread these needles. You pinch the yarn, press it up against the eye, and then kind of pull it through. So I'm going to go down in here and kind of anchor this down here. There we go. That's good. Now, I made another flower last night getting ready for the show from this book, and it really looked awful. I did everything. Was not, as a matter of fact, the reason I was going to make that one was because it was all garter stitch. It didn't involve a lot of making extra stitches and all that sort of thing. And it just, I don't know. I did it right. I don't know. It just looked really crazy. So I threw that out. And Okay, so I'm just tacking this in here. Oops. And you know, I mean, I'm telling you about the mistake I made with my shawl just to tell you that, you know, you are going to make mistakes. Knitting is very forgiving. It's much more forgiving than sewing, much more. And you know, I don't know why did I not do the decreases right? I have no, I don't know. Let's compare that with this one that was over here. Yeah, I like the way this one looks a little better. I did a better job with this one. Now, and now, so let me show you, okay, so let me take this little leaf here. Now this little leaf will go back here. Now it doesn't have a very, this would be just the one single leaf. And I would just, the same way, just take this strand. I want to kind of flatten that out. And again, I mean, you know, these little things are fun to make. You don't have to worry about the size. You don't really have to worry about your gauge. I mean, of course, if you use a really large needle, you know, it's going to be loose. You know, the stitches are going to be loose. You probably don't want that. Okay, so now I'm going to and you know what I do with this one? I would get a little bead or a little button, a little fancy button or a crystal, and you can just sew it right down in there in the center. So now I'm going to take this and here it goes like this. Okay, and I'm just going to sew it on. And I know I had told you about using, you know, sewing thread for this, but I don't have any with me today. But that's probably what I would recommend that you use. Just go in here with this. There we go. Okay, I'll do one more stitch over here. And go in here, through this. Bring this back. I mean, I'm not following any particular, I mean, I'm just sort of using common sense here. Okay, and there you are. Now, I think what's different about these two is I think I rolled this from a different side. This is a different side here because you can see the bind off out here, and it's here, but I mean, again, you know, it's just not going to look like something manufactured in a factory. It's just. I think if you put a little something. As a matter of fact, why don't I do that right now? I've got now what I have here. Let me clear away my table. This is an embroidery needle, and this is silk embroidery ribbon. And I guess this has sort of fallen out of favor. They used to sell this at AC Moore and Michaels. They don't sell it anymore. And there was a shop up in Pepperell called the Pepper Patch. Oh dear. Oh well. Hopefully I won't have to cut anything else. Oh dear. Maybe somebody can fetch that, or maybe I can get it. All right, again, with this, you put this right through the slit of the needle, the eye of the needle. Okay. knot it, won't be as hard. This is nowhere near as hard to work with as that other stuff, of course. And I think this is 7 millimeters wide. And I used to be very interested in this. I have a huge, huge collection of this. And I kind of lost, I don't know, I guess I sort of lost interest in it. It's kind of slow work. Okay, so there's my knot. And let's see, so we'll be doing this. I've never actually done this before here, but let's try it. We're going to go live. Or I'm going to put my needle right up through the middle, and I'm going to make some French knots. Now, I mean, obviously you would use different colors. I mean, I use this off white because I feel like people can see the detail a little better. And you wrap this 3 times. You take it back down, and if I'm lucky, this is going to come out the first time. And you know, this is something. I mean, there's a learning curve to doing this. I've embroidered I was embroidering as a teenager also. Let's see if I can get this guy to come down the right way. Let's see. All right, so that's the way that. Let me see if we can get another one in here and sort of work over that one. Of course, you don't have to do this. You can just, simply sew a bead or a crystal down in there, but I thought I would like to see if I could get these French knots done. And down, and you hold it. Okay. All right. That's a not very well made French knot, but there it is. Let me do one more. Do one more right next to it. So you come up, you wrap 3 times. And I was talking about this at the beginning of the show because I'm going to show you how to make a little Christmas tree from knitting. And then you bring it down, not in the same hole, but right next to it. And there it is. Now, usually when you're doing this, usually this sort of embroidery is done on fabric that's has a tighter weave than knitting would. But so there you are. But again, okay. Now let me start on that Christmas tree, and I've got my instructions here, and here it is. I'll show you. And this is really easy. This is a garter stitch tree, and I'll show you exactly. And I've got the instructions. So Katie is going to, and this again would be for either for a brooch with the pin and back, as I showed you, and just as I showed you over here, I just had a safety pin stitched on the back. Now I don't have any green yarn. I don't wear green. But we can, well, I don't think we're going to be using this because my little scissors flew away from me, so we'll just start with this. You know what? No, let me go to this first. Let me go to this because this is already half done. This guy got away from me. Let me put that back on. Now these are I cords, and I don't know what the I stands for, letter I, and I've been working these together. So let me do a few stitches here just to refresh your memory on the I cord. It's a wonderful thing. That was the purple that I put on the sweater. This was I cord. This is I cord. So, very simply, oops, wait a minute, hang on. Yes, that's right. Yeah, let me just, I don't know if you can come in close enough to see this. With this I-cord, the reason it closes up in back like this is because the thread that the last stitch excuse me, the last stitch you knit, you bring this across. Of course, in normal knitting, you turn it around, but you bring it across, knit again, and it just seals up the back and makes this little tube. Although there is something called a tube, which is not like this, but this, you know, this is a real tube because this is all enclosed. Now, what you would do with this is, you know, I'm gonna bind these off. They're not really long enough to make a real candy cane, but you'll get the idea. Actually, I'll just do a couple more rows here. You know, my husband and I went to the Natick Mall on Saturday, and it was nice to get out, you know, and go somewhere together and all, but I mean, I have to say I considered it kind of a pointless destination because I didn't need anything, and you know, things are either not well made or so expensive that they're really, you know, just too much of a considered purchase. I mean, there don't seem to be a lot of places where there's sort of an in-between from, you know, and actually, I mean, I was kind of astonished because these were some, you know, brands like Ralph Lauren and Jones of New York that, I don't know, I was pretty shocked at the fabric and the stitching. But when we went into Nordstrom, thank God, it was a Christmas-free zone. And they had a sign out front, I guess, to warn you that it wasn't going to be music blasting and, you know, things glittering and hanging down and swinging around. They said, well, we prefer to celebrate one holiday at a time. All right. And it was a relief to get in there because with the demand for Christmas music to play for one solid month or more, you know, there's all these terrible covers of carols and made-up songs and although Bon Jovi, I believe it's Bon Jovi, sings "I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus," and it's a great cover. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm just gonna bind this off. Very simple. Okay. Knit and pass over. Now these needles are small, and there we go. And this is a little. You know, it takes some dexterity, it takes some skill, but you will acquire it. Like I say, I've been knitting all this, you know. Okay, now, all right, I don't have my scissors flew away, so I'm just going to pull this out like this. They're spring loaded, they flew onto the floor. Go like this and come through. Good. All right, and I'm just going to pull this out. I should cut this and pull. Okay, so what you do now is, let me clear some of this away here, is you just take this and twist. Now you want, okay, let me anchor this at the bottom. Let me get my needle in. I don't see my, here it is. I'm gonna anchor this at the bottom. I guess I'll use the, use the red. And you might need, again, take some sewing thread and stitch it as you go along. So I'm gonna anchor this down here. Just gonna this commonly old brutish way of just sewing this together. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Then you just twist this like so, and you twist this up to make the candy cane. Now, you're going to want to get it to stay tight, so this is why I'm saying along the way, let's see, you might, well, here, let me take a pin. You know what, I'm going to use this needle as if it were a straight pin. And you're going to twist it, and then maybe pin it. Okay. Maybe pin it like this. Get it to stay. And you'll want to sort of sew this as you go along, but you'll be twisting it, and then you would turn it, and this would be something you would be fastening onto a sweater or onto a hat. And twist it, and then you curve it around, and there would be your candy cane if you get the idea. So that's the way it would go. And I don't know. I think that looks pretty good. And you know, let me sew this up at the top here. That's what I forgot to do. Well, actually, I can't because I'm not able to cut the thread. Luckily, we're at the end of the show. You know, I don't know if you all know the tradition of the candy cane, but a real candy cane, a traditional candy cane, has. You know, I'll sew this up for you for the next time, and I'll have it all done for you. But that's the idea. You know, the candy canes, a traditional candy cane, as the red stripes kind of twist up the white rod, there are always 3 stripes, and there's 2 large ones and a small one, and it represents the Holy Trinity. And that's it's the story. Now, hopefully, you know, the PC police are not watching this, and so that the show will not be shut down immediately. So I'm hoping not. So far, so good. I'm still on the air. But that would be the Holy Trinity is what's represented in a candy cane. All righty. Let's see. I think we're just about out of time. How are we doing for time? About 5 minutes? We have about 10 minutes. Okay, good. All right, let me then get started with this little tree. And this is just so darn easy. Okay. So, I've got my instructions here, and Katie's going to put this up. So you start with 1 stitch. I've cast it on. And you knit every row, which is what garter stitch is. Let me make a little room in here. I should have brought some small. I'm going to just use these double-pointed needles. I mean, you can use them like regular needles, of course. In fact, they even make these little things you can buy to put on the points so things don't fall off. So, okay, I'm going to knit, and I'm going to start here and knit 2. Okay. All right. Now, at the end of every row, you make an increase. So we're starting from the top of the tree, and you make what's called a front and back increase, which is you do like this. You don't take it off. You go into the back of the stitch. It's always hard to start. And you've increased a stitch. So now I've got 3 stitches. I'll knit this one. And give it a little tug here. So now this particular tree, you can make as big as you want. This pattern is for 15 stitches. So we're going to get to that pretty quickly. Okay, there's my other stitch. So now I'm at working on my triangle. And you know, I showed you this before when I showed you a pardon me, a finishing for a scarf to have points at the end of the scarf before you actually start the body of the okay, there's another stitch. Now I have not made one of these before, so, but it's just so simple. I thought, my goodness. And I know it might be a little boring for you to just sit and watch this, but it's really the only way you're going to learn to do something, is to just relax and sit and watch as these things are made from start to finish. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. There it's coming out. Another increase. But I really would mean a lot to me and other people watching the show if some of you did want to come on and you know, show what you've been doing. So there's my increase. There's all kinds of increases. As a matter of fact, there's another book that I also got at AC Moore. They had a big coupon. And by the way, speaking of knitting books, it's much cheaper for you to buy a knitting book or magazine if there's at least 2 patterns in it, because I'll tell you right now, when you go into these knitting stores, they take the patterns out of the books, they photocopy them, and they charge you for them. Now sometimes they'll give them to you for free if you buy the yarn, but you know, you may not want to make that, you know, buy something that expensive, you know, just to get a pattern. So if you've got a magazine where there's like, you know, 10 or 12 patterns, it, you know, even if it costs you $25 for the book, if there are things in there that you like and there are ideas in there that you can adapt, you know, to another project you're working on, well, it's well worth it. So I have quite a collection of books. How are we doing on time? I wonder. Okay, good. All right, so we should be able to get this done. Okay, so here comes the little tree. You know, I remember, this is going back to 2003. Pardon me. Excuse me. I was working on some yarn that was hard to work with. It wasn't a boucle, but it had like slubs in it. It had like little bumps in it, and you know, it was intentional. It was a textured yarn. And I don't know, I was kind of going through a tough patch, and I just, you know, I to tell you the truth, be honest with you, I completely stopped knitting for about maybe 3 years. I mean, it was so frustrating, and I just, you know, and then what I did was I put it aside. I don't know why this is so, I'm having a hard time with this guy here. And then I found it. Now, don't worry about these big stitches like this. Sometimes this happens on the end, but it will, you won't see it in the next row. And so I ended up, and I felt, you know, I felt very good that I was able to tackle that yarn again and make something out of it. You know, so, So I guess I haven't been knitting a full 50 or 52 years, maybe just 50 years. You know, and you come back and forth to it. You know, sometimes, you know, you just feel like you want to take a break. Although, oh yes, there was one other thing I wanted to tell everybody. There is a list of knitting guilds in Massachusetts that you can join. And the one that I belong to meets in at the Walpole Public Library. I think I've told you this before. The Walpole Public Library at 7:30 on Thursday nights. 7:30 on Thursday nights. And I'll see if I can get. Now we've just got a few minutes. I'm just going to continue here. How many stitches have I got? 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, let's see if we can get. This is going to be awfully small with 15 stitches. Well, you know something now. Okay, again, this is something, you know, the gauge on this is small. I did it intentionally because I wanted to put the French knots on here for little Christmas balls and show that, and I wanted it to be tight. Probably when it was made, you know, the prototype was made, they used larger needles, and so 15 stitches, you know, represented a bigger width of tree. So what I'm going to do, I probably won't get this done. I will go home and I'll finish this tree. I'm going to knit a few more minutes here. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know it can be a tough time. Sometimes, you know, it's so family oriented. You know, at Christmas, I mean, you can kind of get away and, you know, be with your friends, and you're home from college or you're home from wherever. But you know, Thanksgiving is very heavy duty. It's a very heavy duty family. But you see how this looks, and I think it looks pretty nice. I like this gauge for this because we are going to make a pin out of it. So here's my increase coming up again, right there. See it? Oh, good. Okay. And this is just the easiest thing in the world. Next time I will show you the French knots on this little tree, little white tree, snow white tree. You can also, you don't have to use silk ribbon, you can also use embroidery floss, but I'll show that to you next time. And I'm just about run out of time here. So I hope you learned something today. I hope you learn something every time you come to the Norfolk Knitting School classes. And thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. I'm going to continue with the making of gifts, and I need to also say I have contracted mad cow disease. I was speaking against cows last time, but now I've gone crazy for them. Here was a little one I worked on last time when we were here. So we'll continue with that and with some more pins and candy canes and trees. Happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for watching the Norfolk Knitting School on Norfolk Public Access. I'm Anne Marie.
My bee, shoo-up, my sugar, shoo-up, my little butterbean.
Down diddy down 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 diddy diddy down down do I do it down diddy down you're so pretty down diddy down. Ain't it funny how fun love can be? Diddy 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 down diddy down diddy down. Whoa.